Hi, welcome to the week one lecture. This week I'd like to talk about stress in the 21st century. The 21st century has been a transformational era for organizations. The conditions of organizations have changed with uh, multiculturalism in global corporations. Not only that, multiculturalism has increased domestically as well. Um, we also have both increased use of technology and rapid evolution of technology, which is added to the stress. And then there's an increase in virtual workers and virtual teams. So if you think about these, the conditions of organizations today are a lot different than the 20th century. In addition, I know for at least 3 decades, maybe longer, organizations have used outsourcing, downsizing, and job enlargement as their primary strategy for increasing profitability. And this has resulted in high stress for employees. For example, many employees, and some of you, may find you're in jobs that takes much more than 40 hours to perform the work that you're paid to do in 40 hours. So what this means you're either working more hours than you want, which is stressful, or you end up making choices about what you're going to get done during the time you have at work. And that's stressful because you're in a position where there's always something not being done. And that also uh, makes the boss or the employer one up on the employee all the time, which is a stressful situation. Um, so all of this is high stress work environments. By the way, the American Psychological Association refers to that as a sense of powerlessness, that many employees today have this feeling or this sense of powerlessness that results in high stress as a result of these conditions of outsourcing, downsizing, and job enlargement. In 2011, I attended the Association for Change Management Professionals Conference and had a chance to network with change agents from all over the country. And one of the topics that was a hot topic informally at the tables, there was some formal addressment of it, most of it was informal, is ageism. And we've reached a point where discrimination is at a peak based on age. And for example, Dittman did a survey where 80% of participants 60 and older reported experiencing some type of discrimination or ageism. So the trend seems to be when an employee turns 50, they become the first ones laid off. And then they're replaced with younger employees who are less expensive or paid lower incomes. And so this creates stress for worker once they turn 50, but it creates a whole group of nomadic workers 50 and up that pursue part-time work or contract work or are unable to find work. Um, and um, it's a new kind of stress. And for example, there was a 2 year period before 2004. There were over 19,000 age discrimination complaints to the EEOC, and that had risen to over 21,000 by 2013. And even though it's difficult to prove, a lot of these formal lawsuits ended in monetary settlements. There's also pressure from income inequality. And, I missed fitness with job. Let me talk about that. With technology changing and rapidly evolving, workers often find that they're no longer a good fit for their job. Now, this creates stress because it means they're either going to get displaced or it creates stress because they're going to have to transform themselves. So they find that they're in a position where they have to reinvent themselves. time and time again just to stay employed at the same place of work. And that contributes to quite a bit of stress. Then there's traumatic events on the job. And this is especially true with all first responder type jobs. For example, law enforcement, traumatic events have radically increased in the past year. Emergency medical responders, firefighters, all these jobs, the traumatic events have increased. There's also an increase in workplace bullying, harassment, and bad bosses. And you probably remember the Gallup poll study, I think it was around 1999, around 2000, talked about bad bosses being a primary source of job turnover. And there's certainly no decrease in bad bosses. Also, with income inequality, we're seeing that there's an increase in businesses serving high-end income and low-end income, and a decrease in businesses serving the middle class. Just for example, in restaurants like Olive Garden, Red Lobster have been having a harder time, and they focus on middle class, where, say, a restaurant like Capital Grille is really doing well that focuses on a higher end incomes. So, as an indicator of decreasing middle class, for example, a new executive worked in retail in his low 50s, and he was laid off and replaced with a younger, less expensive worker. And he found, after interviewing for a lot of jobs, that he simply wasn't in the right age group. So he assumed he was going to have to move to some type of retail store that serviced middle income. But then he found out there were fewer jobs available at that level. So in the end, what he ended up doing was he ended up taking a retail position at entry-level wages, which was a radical decrease in his salary. And so we're seeing more of that. Work-family balance is another one, that families are, in order to find work, they're being forced to relocate. So in a stereotypical example would be a male in his low 50s is displaced, he loses his job, he becomes a contract worker, and so he accepts a contract job out of state. His wife is a professional. She takes a job in another state, and then the kids in the family are reaching the age of beginning employment, and they're in a third state. So what you have is you have the nuclear family spread out so that none of them have their support system. And this includes extended family as well, because they're all spread out from extended families. So this ups the stress. It also is going to be an increasing problem as work-family balance is an important value to the millennial generation, who has now become the largest generation. Pensions and job security is another source of stress. For example, in the auto industry, the General Motors, Ford, Chrysler, they eliminated pensions for salaried workers. I know GM, it was reported GM did this in 2012. And so this adds stress. Also, cities that go into bankruptcy, for example, the city of Detroit went through bankruptcy, and one of the first things bankruptcy court went after was pensions of city workers. So workers are finding out pensions are not available, and those that have pensions are finding out they're not guaranteed. They can't even be ensured that they're going to have that pension. And all of this is happening at a time when our politicians are motivated to disassemble the social safety net. So what they're trying to do is shut down social services, and this is going to leave a lot of people on their own. We're also seeing trends in the media with new technology and biofeedback. For example, they have hearables. I saw a commercial on a hearable where it was a type of headphone that a driver would wear, and it would both vibrate and make a certain sound or something if the driver's head position started to nod. So it was new technology to improve safety, to prevent more than likely professionals from falling asleep on the job. Mindfulness has been a very popular trend, and not only in organizations but in all of psychology. But it's also becoming very popular in organizations. Also, a very popular subtopic of mindfulness that's in the media almost constantly is distracted or divided attention. They're finding that workers are having a much more difficult time staying focused because of all the distractions with electronic devices. I don't know how, next time you're in a meeting at work, notice how many people are on a cell phone at any given point in time. I noticed the last time I was doing corporate training, we were doing classes of 25, and at any given moment, there's at least 5 people who were active on their cell phones. And I'm sure they were doing mail or text or, unrelated to the class. So we're going to have a need for systemic solutions for organizations. It seems that fewer organizations are willing to look at primary stress interventions. So I think the focus is going to be on secondary stress interventions with applications like mindfulness and a need for psychologists to diagnose the level of stress in the environment and come up with ways to help organizations reduce that stress. Another example, and I've seen several dissertations on the topic here of late, but is burnout and turnover, and especially in the social services, and to the point where it's a concern for organizations just trying to keep experienced and highly qualified people on the job because the stress is so high. So these are some of the new trends going on. As you can see here, I've got I have references listed. I will be posting a transcript of this lecture along with this video. So if you want to pursue any of the references, you'll have easy access to it. Also, you'll see that each week I'll post a lecture on a topic related to our weekly discussion. Thank you.